So basically, just gonna see if a few more people hop on. If not, I'm gonna just talk because it is pretty late. And I do want to get this video out tonight. All right, hi. Thank you. Honestly, if it weren't for all these other survivors that have my back, I highly doubt I would be able to like come forward. So I do want to say thank you to all of those guys. But basically, I keep getting asked if all boarding schools are abusive, and I honestly don't have answers to that. I do know that there are good humans out there, but I do believe that even good humans can't control other humans. So I do believe that there could be good boarding schools out there, but there are some flags that people need to look out for. Like, I'm going to speak off of the 3 that I know of that I went to, and these ones were at these schools. You weren't allowed to talk to your parents. So like phone calls were monitored, and they usually wouldn't let you talk to your parents until after like a couple of months and you were already brainwashed and doing what they want you to do. Some schools even had like if you were still like an orange shirt, you couldn't talk to your parents until you moved up. So for me, if you are not allowed to talk to your parents or your child, because you are the parent doing the research, you should not send your child to a school that doesn't let you have contact with them regularly. I personally feel sorry, my lighting. Let me turn my light back. Let me see what I can do. It's late and I am doing this while my kids are asleep. Anyways, so basically lighting or not basically lighting. Basically, if you can't speak to your kids, that's a huge no. Do not send your kid there. If you're not allowed to randomly just show up, you definitely should not send your kid there. You should be allowed to randomly just show up to make sure your kids are fine. I also feel like there should be some sort of outside influence. Like at Circle of Hope, you couldn't talk to the church members. Like church members could come up and talk to you, but either my mom or my dad would be like hovering over you. So you freely could not talk to anyone. At Agape started their own church. So the boys would go to that church. So they had no outside contact. They did have a nurse practitioner or something, doctor or something like that would come in. But to be honest, I feel like he was part of the problem too. But Circle of Hope, they did go out, but you weren't allowed to talk to anyone. If letters, like I said, if you can't write your child letters, basically, if you lose all of your rights as parents, you should not send your child to that place. I do know of one school that supposedly allows their kids to have a cell phone once they hit a certain age, which I think that should be allowed. I think you should be allowed to have contact with the outside world, like Facebook. You should be able to, if you're being abused or witnessing your friends be abused, you should be able to take a video. You should be able to get proof. Yeah, no doctors ever came to Circle of Hope when I was there. No doctor. I remember at one point, and that was after one mother came and got her daughter and started complaining. They started doing regular checkups, but that lasted, I think, like a month or 2. It's usually when they get scared that they start to enforce a little more leniency. I don't know how to like say that. They'll start doing like things differently. Like I said, they started doing doctor's visits after this one mother complained, and that stopped not too long after that. I know when I was a kid, we rarely went to the doctor, but when you're taking care of other people's kids, you should be allowed to go see the doctor when you need. You should be allowed, especially if if you're sick, you should be allowed to contact your parents. I think that's one of the major red flags. I do feel like if you're at a boarding school, you should be doing public school still. I don't think that you should necessarily be doing school in that kind of setting because you need to be able to talk to other people that aren't staff at that school. And I know at some high school, well, actually, I think almost every high school now has counselors and things like that that you can talk to. And some of these counselors are trained to watch out for abuse. And I feel like that would be a really good thing. But basically, red flags are if you can't talk to your kid, if you get there and all of those, if you're touring the property and all of those kids look like robots, that's a definite do not send your kid there. If you can't freely show up and tour the property and ask students, like, hey, what do you think about this place? What do you like without a staff member hovering over you? That should be a no. I have nothing against religion. I think you should practice whatever religion you want. But if these schools are religious, I would say no, because a lot of the times you can only practice their religion. I would think the perfect boarding school is not religious and you can practice whatever religion you want. But I'm trying to think of the other questions I keep getting on TikTok. I know at Agape when we first showed up, we were leaving Florida and we were showing up to visit. And when we got there, we toured the property, and one of the first rooms they took us to was this room that was it wasn't padded, it was carpeted, kind of like this type of like material, and they called that the restraining room. And that was like one of the first rooms they took us to. If they have, I don't think they showed the parents that, but if they have a room like that, that's most likely what that room is for. And it's usually padded and dark. And I would say no if they have that kind of room. If anyone's in the chat, do you guys have any questions or anything? Autumn, at one point in time, I would say that they could change. At one point in time, I would think Boyd and Stephanie could change. My dad is 72, 73. My mom is almost 50. I don't think they can change, to be honest. At this point in time, I think what they have done, I just don't think they can change. I think that they do need help, but I don't think that they can actually change. I feel like they just need to not be in charge of a whole bunch of kids. And if they don't go to jail, then they should be working normal jobs and not in charge of any kids. But I do feel like they deserve to go to jail for everything they've done. More and more boys are coming out about the abuse my dad gave them at Agape, and it's just it's too much. It's too much. We have gone to the police, but with Agape, people have been trying for a long, long, long time. I don't know why with Agape it's not getting taken care of. Circle of Hope. I think in the beginning when we first opened up, there just wasn't enough. There was a couple of moms coming forward. And this one mom, she tried everything. She tried suing them. She tried everything. And you can go online and you'll see all of her stuff. Her heal.org, she has like letters after letters. I think the Christmas letter, like what you can buy your daughter for Christmas, is on there. But she tried really hard. She had the FBI involved. She gave me the FBI number, case number that she was, or FBI worker's number that she was working with to me. And I started talking with him during that time, or not during that time, but later on. But I don't know. I honestly don't know why. It could be because there's not enough evidence, because these schools don't allow you to get enough evidence. You can't have cameras. You can't write your parents. You can't call your parents. You can't, you can write your parents, but you have to write them what they want you to write them. So, I would never take over the ranch. No, honestly, I would have never. This is not something that I would have ever wanted to be involved in. So I would have not taken over the ranch. It's the legal system, but also in Missouri, they have laws that protect religious establishments like this. So it is the legal system, but it's also, I think the police hands are tied at this point. I don't know. I do know there is some corruption, but I just don't know. No, Agape is not run by my parents. So Agape is a boarding school that my parents, it's a boys boarding school that my parents worked at from the time I was 11 until I was like 15. So from 2001 to 2006. Um, well, I mean, I guess I could, but my parents and I don't talk, so they wouldn't hand me the ranch over when they retired. Right now, there is talk that this is all speculation. This is all stuff I've overheard from multiple people. So it's information that I do feel like is good information. But there's a girl who was sent to Circle of Hope, and when she was sent there, she was allowed to date my brother Julian, basically off the bat. So she was already like one of the favorites. Um, they allegedly, my parents paid for her college, bought her a car, are buying her a house, and she's taking over Circle of Hope when the time is. Her and her soon to be husband are taking over Circle of Hope. According to the girls that were there when she was there, that's not good. I mean, you can only imagine what type of person you would have to be for my parents to hand over a school, abusive boarding school to. So, what is my job? I don't have a job. I was in college, but I don't have a job anymore. Or not anymore, but I dropped out of college. Um, she's online. You can read the complaints board stuff, and it will say her name, but I'm not going to mention her name on here because I don't want to get, I don't know, I just don't want to get in trouble. But she is an ex-girl. Autumn or someone else can always pop off her name. But unfortunately, when she was sent, her mom didn't have a choice in the matter. And so her mom tried everything in her power to get Brandy out. She took Circle of Hope to court. She took her husband to court. She took everyone to court. At this point in time, um, I wasn't affiliated with the ranch, but I was not like wanting to shut the ranch down. And so she was like taking my Facebook pictures and like screenshotting it and taking it to court and stuff like that. So she knew of me. And eventually I ended up reaching out to her and finding out that her daughter was put into therapy and diagnosed with some mental illness. I don't know what it was. She didn't give me the exact thing, but she has gone untreated for however many years she's at Circle of Hope. And in her complaints board thing, she'll talk about how her mom sent her there and had her declared crazy, and she's not. The Bible's helped her and stuff like that. It's sad because she needs help. I don't know. I just know that Circle of Hope is not the help that she really needs mentally, because Circle of Hope isn't a place for people who need help mentally. So routine at Circle of Hope. It's different now, but when I was there, me and Chanel were kind of talking about this. When we were there, we higher up shirts had to wake up at 4. So like I woke up at 4 and started breakfast. Chanel woke up and started getting the girls up and ready by like 5 o'clock. They would be ready, and then she would go take them outside, and they would do chores. Was it by 4:30 or 5? I don't remember. I know I had to have breakfast on the table by 5:30, and they had to come in, and everything had to be done by 6. And then we would either start our chores like upstairs cleaning, like dusting the picture frames, like cleaning the bathroom, vacuuming, dishes, going outside and doing more work. It was very rare that we actually sat down and did school. That wasn't actually a thing. Like doing school actually wasn't a thing until like, I want to say like 2008, 2009, when we actually started sitting down and doing like actual, like, this is school time. And we were opened up by like 2.5 years by that point. So it was Yeah, and then we would be in bed, I wanna say by 8 we were in bed because the girls had to have showers by 7 or started at 7, and they would have 5-minute showers, and, we would have to rush them through sometimes. Sometimes they even get there 5 minutes. Um, so the whole siblings thing, I don't know. I really don't know. I know my older brother doesn't really talk to my dad. My older he's the second oldest brother, does talk to my parents. I think he is supportive of the school. I don't necessarily think he wants my parents to run it, but I can't say that for sure. I know like a couple of 5 years ago we talked and oh no, it was actually 8 years ago now. We talked and he basically said that he just wished they wouldn't run the ranch. And then my other brother, he's not supportive of it, but he's not ready to openly like speak out on it. And then I don't think Julian's actually supportive of the ranch. I think he's just still at the stage I was a couple of years ago when I wasn't ready to come forward and speak out on it because it is our parents. Um, I know a lot of people don't like understand that, but it's hard. It's hard to come forward and say, like, this is what I was raised in. This is wrong, and I'm speaking out against it. I'm already like on TikTok, people are already like jumping down my throat that it's my parents. So I can see why he doesn't really want to come out and speak on it. But I don't think he's necessarily fond of the ranch because he wouldn't take it over. He wouldn't want to do it either. Um, I don't talk to my siblings. I was talking to my brother Julian, but when I went so public and viral, he stopped talking to me. And that's fine, whatever. But I do talk to my one brother quite often, and he actually called me today. So, um, are there any more questions? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Um, I know a lot of people keep asking about agape. So, like, um, oh, I honestly I don't know what happened when people called the ranch. I just don't want people to, harass them. Like, that's not gonna help our situation. That's just gonna be causing issues for us because, we're trying to get the word out there. We're not trying to harass them. They need to get shut down, but we need to do it legally, and that's why I don't want people to call them and harass them. Yeah, honestly, it took me a long time to get over, like, my family's not really my family. Like, they are blood, but my family are the people I went through the situation with and the people who helped me out of the situation. Unfortunately, they are still legally my family, but they're not. I honestly have wanted to divorce my family for a long time now. No, I don't have friends at the ranch. I do have a friend that used to work at Agape, and she no longer works there. But no, I don't have any friends at the ranch. I tried when I when I left, I tried my hardest to not have anything to do with ranch. When I did eventually start going back in 2012, 2000 I think it was 2012 and visiting, it was just awkward. I felt bad for the girls. You could just tell they were really, really sad. And so I didn't want to, I don't know, I just didn't talk to them or anything. I would go over and sit in my dad's like little house across the way and just like stay there for a little bit. But after that, like I tried my hardest to not have anything to do with the ranch. And so no, I don't have friends that's still there. I do know people that I grew up with that apparently work there, but I don't know really anywhere. How did I run away? Yeah, so actually, funny story. Um, I ran away, hold on. In 2007, or no, sorry, 2006. August. So June, we opened in June, July, and August. We 3 months after we opened, I ran away with two of their students. One of the girls, her name is Chloe Goins. I ran away with her and a girl named Mylin. Chloe had come to me telling me that my dad was touching her inappropriately. And me and Mylin were already fed up with how we were being like forced to restrain girls and give them push ups. And so we all just I want to say it was like that day. It could have been like the day before, started talking about running away. And so I had a cell phone and I did have one person that flirted with me outside of Circle of Hope. And so his name was Matt. And basically, we called him that night and we told him what was going on at the ranch. And he hung up on us and he told his dad. And his dad told him that he can take us as far as Pittsburgh, Kansas. And so we went all the way up there and we went to his friend's frat house. And obviously, I was 15 at this, yeah, 15 at this time. So like, I shouldn't have been at a frat house, and neither should my Lynn. And so they were all like, "No, no, you need to leave. You need to leave." And so like we were all like freaking out. We're like, "Well, we can't stay here." And Matt had to go home. And finally, we convinced Matt to not go home and to just drive us to California. So we got in the car, and Chloe kept saying, "Go west, go west, go west." So we ended up going west. We ended up making it to New Mexico. But Chloe, when we got back, I was told Chloe had died. This was like, I got back, and then it took like a couple of weeks for Mylan to get back. And after Mylan got back, they told me that Chloe had died from a drug overdose from, I think it was like crack or meth or something like that. And so we basically thought Chloe died. 2, 3 years ago, I was all like, just curious. I don't know what made me think, oh, I should just Google her name. And so I Googled her name and she pops up. And I was like, there's no, because she's kind of famous, not really famous, but her name is out there. And I was like, there's no way that this is the same girl I ran away with, because I ran away in 2007, and then why she became famous happened in like 2008. And so I messaged her, and I was all like, did you run away with 2 girls in 2007 and make it to New Mexico? And I think it was like a week later, she messaged me and she's like, yeah, whatever happened to those girls? And I was like, I'm one of those girls. And the other girl got sent back. And obviously, that was not good because she was put into, I think, an orange shirt for a long, long time and was treated badly. But that's how. So I can't say my dad has cut all of those girls' hair. So that started. We had a girl, her name was Candace, and I don't know why she was sent to Circle of Hope, but my dad said she was sent due to boy problems. Um, when she showed up, her mom brought her a whole bunch of clothes with her, and she was unpacking her clothes, and there were like thongs and stuff in there, and like short shorts and stuff. And my dad obviously had an issue with that. And so he basically told a lot of us that she was there for having sex with boys, and she felt like she was too sexy and she was too vain and like all of these things. And if she was to look in the mirror, we were to let him know, because she would sit there and like brush her hair in the mirror and like look at herself, which is normal. That's just like a normal thing to do for girls, especially when you have nothing else to do, because at this time we were not doing school. And so he got really fed up and lost it. And he basically had her stand in front of all of us and cut her hair to like right here. She had the longest, prettiest blonde hair. And then this is the same girl that her mom would come and take her on family reunions at Stockton Lake. And she would call like a week in advance, say, hey, we're going for this family reunion. Can you have Candace ready? And he would get Candace ready. But what he did was like make her eat and eat and eat and make her gain so much weight so she didn't feel pretty when she got there. He did all of that, like psychological damage, just because he felt that she felt she was pretty, which is okay. Like, she should be able to feel like she's pretty. That's just normal. But for some reason, that was like not okay in his brain. I don't remember why the second girl got that, but I remember that it was in his office. He put this nasty bowl on her head and he like literally chopped her hair off to here, like shorter than Candace's. That was really like, I just remember a lot of the girls just like walking away from that. Those were the only 2 that it happened while I was there. So he doesn't do it to all of the girls. It honestly, it depends. Like I said, I can't say what happens when I'm not there. I can only say like allegedly like stories that girls have told me. But no, not all of the girls. So the LGBTQ, when I was there, we only had one girl And then we had another girl, I think she identified as bisexual, and they weren't allowed to look at each other. They weren't allowed to look at us. If they looked at us longer than like 10 seconds, we were told to restrain them and yell for Brother House. Um, so they were basically shunned. They didn't do like electrotherapy or anything like that. They didn't try to like beat the gay out of you or anything like that, but they did try to preach it out of you, and they did make you feel very miserable for feeling the way you do and like being yourself. I don't It was sad. The one girl I'm talking about, I remember when she came, she had Converse on, and on the toe of the Converse it said straight edge. And my mom kept saying, "What does straight edge mean?" And she kept saying, "No drugs." And my mom said, "What does straight edge mean?" And she's like, "No drugs." And my mom said it again. I think it was like the fifth time my mom got up in her face yelling at her and said, "What does straight edge mean?" Finally, I was like, "I think it means no drugs." And then my mom's like, "Is that what it means?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then she's like, "Okay." So she was treated worse, honestly, than a lot of girls. I've tried finding her and reaching out to her, um, because I feel like her story needs to be heard. I can't speak on like her. I can't speak on her story. I don't know how she felt. I don't know how she felt the treatment was towards her. I can just say how like I was raised towards them. I was raised to. I didn't even know about girls being allowed to. I don't know how to explain it until she came. Um, and my mom had to explain it to me. And to be honest, when she explained it to me, it was like scarring because the way she explained it to me, it was like all of these people are going to rape you. And it's like, no, if they're not sexually attracted to you, they probably don't want anything to do with you. It doesn't matter sexual orientation. Like, they're not going to rape you just because of, I don't know. It was just bigot. Um, Now, racism, I can't say they were ever openly racist in front of the girls. I just know that they were openly racist in front of me. They didn't treat any other girls differently that I can say, but they would have to speak on that. I do know one girl who allegedly was forced to do things with my dad, and there was this one sermon my dad would always preach within our devotions on how I don't know why the sermon was preached. I just know that it is not appropriate. But he would always talk about how he would have sex with black girls, white girls with red hair, white girls with blonde hair, white girls with brunette hair, and none of them were as good as his black girls. And so it was like things like that that he would say in front of the girls. I can't say that he was ever openly like calling them names in front of them. That was stuff that he always did behind closed doors, or not closed doors, but behind their backs and to his family or to people that weren't in the boarding school. I never witnessed it to the girls. Um, yes, tattoos and piercings. Well, piercings not so much. You could have piercings, but tattoos were horrible. When I first got my tattoo, it like it pissed my dad off so much that I was getting yelled at, and I was out of the house at that point. I had just gotten married, and he was all like really mad at me. He was like, "Oh, so now you're one of those tattoo chicks that just jumps around from bed to bed." And like at this point in time, I only had slept with two guys, my husband and my ex-boyfriend. So I thought that was pretty funny. I can't say what the main reason is why girls were sent to Agape. I mean, sorry, Circle of Hope. A lot of them are for different reasons. I can just say that when we were there, a lot of them were adopted kids that it seemed like the parents didn't want anymore. It's sad because I would say at least half of them were adopted girls that were adopted. A lot of them were adopted out of like different countries too. What do I do for a living? I don't do anything for a living right now. I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I'm not advocating for a living, like I'm not making money off of this stuff. Right now what I'm doing is basically just trying to advocate for survivor voices, and that's my job. The worst honestly, the restraining was the worst punishment, and I can't speak for every girl, but I can say that for me, it was actually being on the end of having to give the girls the restraint, like having to restrain the girls because listening to their screams, and they wiggle, obviously they're going to wiggle, and you're told if you don't push as hard as you can, you're going to be next. My wrist would hurt for a long time. I'd like not getting restrained, but like just having to put all that pressure on the person. My wrist would hurt. It was just sickening. Yeah, red flag is if it's therapeutic because a lot of these therapeutic boarding schools aren't really therapeutic. They are quite the opposite, to be quite honest. Um, yeah, if there's no like therapist or any like counselor on site, I honestly don't go. Don't go at all, or don't send your kid there. How often? Yeah, so that's kind of confusing because a lot of the times they would do like runs to the Amish and the girls could leave, but the Amish is like 5 minutes away, so they would come back. It wasn't very often. Church, they would do churches. We did do a whole East Coast tour, singing at different types of churches to raise money. I don't know if they do that anymore. I knew they were going to Michigan at one point. And they were taking all the girls to this one cabin up there, but it was just still like to like a different church, and they would sing at the church and stuff like that. Yeah, no, it pisses me off that they hide behind. I don't know, because like I know it's not Christianity, but they hide behind a Christianity, and um I know at the independent fundamental Baptist churches we went to, those pastors would get off on preaching about spanking kids and um, basically like you needed to leave marks, and they would jump around on pews screaming, waving their Bible around, talking about spare the rod, spoil the child. If your child doesn't have a black bottom, then he's not right with God. And it has, hmm, were I okay, so when I was there, there were a couple of girls that talked on that talked about suicide. They never I don't wanna say they ever acted out on it when I was there, 'cause I didn't witness anyone act out on it, but there were talks of it, and that was not a good thing because my dad can't handle that. Um, I have been suicidal since I was 10. So yes, I just can't say that anyone acted on it. I have acted on it. I acted on it at age 10. I took a whole bottle of seizure medicine. And then when that didn't work, I tried Tylenol and ibuprofen. Um, so the girls, when they ran away, they would come back and they would be put on flip flop status, no talking, robes. Well, robe status didn't start until after I was gone. That was like an agape thing that they took from agape. But they would be put on flip flop status. They would have to wear an orange shirt. And they would have a buddy at all times, and they couldn't talk basically. Do any of the girls say it was a positive experience? The girl that is supposedly taking over the school will say it's a positive experience. There are some other girls that have jumped on telling us to shut up, that we were liars, and if God wanted it shut down, then God would shut it down. And it's like, hmm. But I can't say that any of the girls I currently talk to found it a positive experience. Most of us only find it a positive experience because we're making it a positive experience. Well, not experience, but we're making something positive come of it, if that makes sense. Yes, my mother is the reason why the skirts are a thing. So, like, my mom and dad, I swear, hate each other. Because when my dad would be gone, my mom would be okay. Not great, but okay. And then sorry, when my mom was gone, my dad would be okay. Way better than he ever was. Like, I could get along with my dad. I asked him because this wasn't allowed. These types of shirts weren't allowed. I had asked him why we couldn't wear pants and why we couldn't wear spaghetti straps shirts. My issue was we were raised to believe that everything was individual convictions. So some people don't wear pants because that's their own conviction. Some people don't smoke because that's their own conviction. Some people don't watch TV because that's their own conviction. Not everyone has the same convictions. And so, like, I asked him, I was like, why, if it's not my conviction, can't I wear pants? Because I personally feel more modest in pants because wearing skirts, when the wind would blow, skirts would go up, like, you could see up the skirts, and he's like, "Yeah, that's" he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Let's talk to your mom." Well, we talked to my mom, and my mom was like, "No," and so, honestly, I think my mom was the reason why skirts were a thing. Um, yeah, you have to be modest, and skirts are the only modest thing, and the funny thing is, like, growing up for at Agape, I wasn't allowed any to wear anything unless it was, like, 2 times bigger than myself, and it had to be cowboy. So my dad would go buy me cowgirl shirts, cowboy like hats, cowgirl like they're called riding skirts, I think, not culottes, but they're like skirts that are split up the like middle, and they would all be like super big on me and cowboy boots, and I could only wear that. And he would get so mad that I hated wearing that because it wasn't me. What was my room like? So when we first opened up, I was upstairs in the closest room to the living room or to the bathroom, and the bathroom was right next to the living room. So my bedroom was adjoining with a girl's bedroom. And so like they would come over into my room at night and we would talk. And that's actually why how I ran away. I ran away with the two girls that were in the room next to me. We snuck out my window. But when I came back, they screwed the window shut and they had me move downstairs. And so when I moved downstairs, I don't know why, but my dad let me paint my room, and I did paint it like my walls were pink and my ceilings were black, and then I had like Amanda written all over my walls. That was like the one time they actually let me have some sort of my own identity. Um, but when the 5-year-old came, she ended up coming and like staying in my room with me. But um, and then they moved to a different house, and then I ended up stay they converted the porch into a bedroom, and that was my bedroom then across the street. Um, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what I think should happen. I think, um, the man who owned it originally, I think he should get it back because it is good property. It has, horrible memories there, obviously, but the property is pretty nice. Maybe maybe burn down the buildings, I don't know. At Agape, I mean, at Circle of Hope, no, but at Agape, there had been a few riots. After I left, there was a riot apparently. But I don't know. I know Agape also burned down. I don't know if that burned down because of someone burning it down or what, but Agape started in Othello, Washington, and then moved from Othello, Washington to like Stockton, California, and then moved from Stockton, California to Agape and Stockton, Missouri. What did we eat? Honestly, when I was there, it was when I was there, they made me cook. So, like, one of the main meals the girls liked was pizza. I would make pizza, biscuits and gravy, pancakes, quiche. I don't know. I just tried to make everything. I don't know how to like. It wasn't when I was there. I would have to make the menus, and I would ask the girls to help me make the menus because I don't know. I just liked having help make menus because it was kind of boring having the same food over and over again. Commissary? No, no. They did when I was there. They did have a like storage room that had like shampoos and conditioners and stuff. There was this the one girl I ran away with, Mylin. Her mom sent her Head and Shoulder shampoo because she got really bad dandruff, like dandruff in her hair. And my dad would take her dandruff shampoo before he told her. He would take her dandruff shampoo, dump it down the drain, and then squeeze like normal like dollar suave into it and then give it to her. And then when she was like trying to figure out why her hair wasn't like normal, he basically showed her and like all the other girls what he was doing to their shampoo and conditioner and body wash and stuff like that. I don't understand why he would dump it down the drain. I'm like, that's wasting money. They could have used it. They could have used that and then used the suave. But no, you can't buy anything. When I was there, we had like more sweets and stuff, and some girls were like sneaking the sugars and stuff, and so they stopped doing all of that. Like I don't know, it was just kind of annoying. Um, I think I am gonna go to bed. I know this video actually didn't go how I wanted it to, but um, well, thank you, Stella. Um, I'll probably, like, write down everything I wanna say and do a better red flags video. I'm tired. I was gonna do this on live with Chanel, but I couldn't get my computer to, like, record it properly. Um, but yeah, no, I'll most likely do another video, and I know people wanna know more about, like, my run story and, like, how I escaped. To be honest, it's not there's not much more to the how I escaped. I was basically just kicked out, and, my grandma came and got me. It wasn't anything spectacular, but, um, yeah. I'm gonna go to bed, guys. Night.